our introduction. So yes, Bodhi Magga, we, as you know, our focus is about developing mindfulness, samadhi, which is unification of mind and the wisdom that comes from that through practice of bhavana or meditation techniques, both insight as well as stillness techniques. And of course, understanding and practicing the wider Dhamma associated with these meditation techniques. We aim to meet every sort of first or second Friday of the month. We have, I mean, this month obviously is an exception to that. We have a short introduction, as always, followed by the Dhamma talk, and then the guided meditation, and then we have a Q&A before we close. As you know, we are exploring the 7 factors of awakening, or Bojjanga Dhamma. We started that at the beginning of the year. Today, we are looking at the 5th factor, PASSADDHI, which is translated as relaxation or tranquility, and how it counters hindrances. And this we're looking at both from a sort of a formal meditation practice, but also in our daily lives. And hopefully some of that could be discussed after the in-session practice. Today, we are fortunate to have Dr. Matheesha Gunathileke, who's a very well-experienced teacher of bhavana, meditation, and also the wider Dhamma, both at Thames Vihara, but also within the community gatherings that we're all familiar with. So today we are finishing up half an hour earlier, 7:30. So I'd like to invite Matheesha to go ahead with leading today's session. Thank you, Matheesha, and thank you everybody else for joining today.
Thank you again so much. So I think we've already had a few sessions, 5 sessions, in fact. Unfortunately, both my laptops refused to work, so I'm on my phone. Here we go. I assume Paul already done a good job in explaining the first few factors. And I'm wondering, does anybody remember what the first factor of the first enlightenment factor is? So Sapta Bojjanga, the 7 factors of enlightenment. What is the first factor?
I want to say it's sati, but I hope that's correct. Maybe not. I don't know.
I can see a few people here. If you don't mind, I would love to have your cameras on, but you don't have to if you're feeling uncomfortable. I know it's the end of the day on a Friday, so you can relax. So okay, anybody, any second?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I think it's good to have your cameras on, and certainly, you know, when we go into the meditation, we can knock the cameras off. So yeah, do join if you're feeling comfortable.
It is sati.
Yeah,
me.
I back Gihanta, Sati, and
Are you back Gihanta? Okay, you're good friends.
And Mihiri, yeah.
Oh, Mihiri. Excellent. I can see Jane turning her notes. Okay, yes, indeed. Well done, Gihanta. You're correct, 100%. So what do we understand by the word sati? Anybody? I'm going to make this very much interactive, so that you're all nice and awake when you come to the meditation. What do we understand by sati? So if Buddha says, okay, we are starting off with sati, mindfulness. What are we doing when we are mindful? What is present, what is not present?
I would say, would it be like sati means awareness with not just awareness, but with wisdom.
Awareness with wisdom, okay. So sati sampajanya, maybe a way of looking at it. Mindfulness and clear comprehension. Yes, very good. What kind of wisdom are we thinking here? Book knowledge? Or something else?
No, wisdom that things are, I suppose, everything impermanent. It's a process, and it's unsatisfactory because of the changing nature. of things,
Hmm.
and not get attached to things, and just maybe be accepting of what it
Acceptance as
is.
well. That's right. So the more we see that things are constantly in a flux, things are changing, we find that it's unsatisfactory in the sense that you can't hold on to them any longer, and therefore you let go, and then there's acceptance. So I think you nicely outlined the whole process in a way there. So
Yeah, I think Kumari really sort of very nicely mentioned the different aspects there of wisdom. But linking it back to sort of sati, I think normally we are in a sort of a constant autopilot mode. We have stimulus coming through our five senses, and normally the way we operate is, we see something, hear something, taste something, feel something, or we think something, and we're continuously reacting, aren't we? And I think why the sati or the mindfulness, because when we get quieter, we are able to see things and not be in a reactive mode. I think that's where the importance of sati.
sure, absolutely. The sati in itself will quieten the mind. I think that's an important point here, especially with the first few sections of the Bojjanga, the enlightened factors, because you do need sati in all aspects to quieten the mind and steady the mind and stabilize the mind. So, how can we develop sati? Anybody? Or do we develop sati? Anyone? Also, be in the present, says Samantha. Being in the present means what? What
Maybe
are you
just
not?
aware of what you're doing, your feelings. Is a satipatthana, I suppose, the four satara satipatthana, basically. Your
Absolutely.
movement, body.
So you're aware of your body postures, maybe the four postures: sitting, standing, sleeping. You're aware of your movements. You're in the present moment. You're not caught up in the past. Caught up in the future. You're not lost in your thoughts, and you're aware of the present moment, isn't it? And also, maybe you may be aware of the breath when you're doing sitting down meditation, doing mindfulness of breath. So that once again, you do that in the present moment. And invariably, sati is often defined as the four foundations of mindfulness in the Dhamma, in the Pali Canon. Sati is never defined by itself. Buddha never said it was awareness in that sense, but it is awareness. But it wasn't defined on its own, but always defined along with what were you aware of. So if you try to be just aware, you find it quite hard. But if you know what you have to be aware of, you find it's easier. So you need to have a target of your awareness.
So the object of the meditation, isn't it? So
Exactly.
I guess with something like stillness, where or say the breath, you're focusing on the breath. But if you were to do something like vipassana, I guess you're focusing on the changing objects, but being aware. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's for sati. And so when we are mindful, what we come to see is that the body changes, the feeling changes, the mind changes. Basically, everything changes. Or if you like the six sense basis, sound, sight, smells, touch, taste, all those thoughts, everything keeps changing. So that kind of gently leads us on to the next step, which is what?
The second Bojjanga, did you
Yes.
say?
Yeah.
So I think it's Dhamma. Is the investigation of Dhamma? Isn't it Dhamma Vicharya or something?
Dhamma Vicharya. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Gyanta is on fire.
When
So
you asked for the first one, I was just thinking, in case Matheesha asked for the second, third, and fourth, because we better know. We better know these things. So yeah.
I'm assuming everybody has Googled all seven by now. So you better know when I ask. Okay, so just kidding. So the second one is Dhamma Vichaya, investigation into phenomena. So just a lot of description. Dhamma Vichaya is knowing that which arises in your mind is wholesome or unwholesome. So how do you know something is unwholesome in your mind? How do you define that? Because you may say, oh, it's wholesome or unwholesome, but there are some criteria that helps you to determine what is unwholesome. The Buddha told it to the Kalamas, if you remember.
Makes you want to push it away rather than cling to it.
Okay, that could be one criteria. So with what defilement do you push away?
Aversion,
Aversion. And if you want to cling to it?
greed,
That's right. So
desire.
craving. Yeah. So those are both pushing and pulling are both defilements. So that's right. So if a thought pops up in your mind and is based on greed, that's unwholesome. If a thought pops up in your mind and is based on aversion or anger, irritation, frustration, that's also unwholesome. So we say don't tolerate those thoughts in a sense. We're not trying to suppress them, but we are trying to erase them. So there are methods of removing them from your mind. So because the more you habituate, the more you give rise to those thoughts, craving thoughts, aversion thoughts, the more it makes grooves in your brain, your mind, and it keeps on firing. It keeps on repeating itself. And the Buddha said the brain is something of habit. So habitually, if you give rise to look at things or do things that gives rise to a lot of craving, it will keep on doing those things. So on the other hand, Buddha said, why don't you look at the drawbacks of those things we crave? So for example, I don't know, I'm thinking handbags. I don't know why. But if you look at the drawbacks, how much it costs, for example, and or maybe you have enough already, or maybe you're trying to get into a competition or whatever it is, you may be able to control that urge. So this is about self mastery and doing getting the brain to do what is wholesome rather than constantly giving into your desires. And it can be done gradually. Even if you did give into your desires, you'll find that the pleasure that you get out of those fun things fade away with time, and that you don't desire them as much as you did in the past. So that could be another way of reducing the desire. So the idea of asad adino nisarana. So that is the pleasure in something, the drawbacks in something, and seeing the escape from that thing. So it's a sequence. So you must be able to enjoy the pleasure of something to see the drawback of it. And when you see the drawback, there's escape from it. That's another sequence the Buddha has mentioned. I know coming cravings. So, okay. So the Dhamma Vichaya, the second factor of enlightenment, is defined in knowing what is wholesome and unwholesome. And one of the unwholesome things is also how you define what is unwholesome is also by attraction, aversion, and also delusion. So if you're doing something to massage your ego, the sense of self, then those things are unwholesome in that sense. Yes, Samantha.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Matheesha, so do we actually need to know, be told what is wholesome and unwholesome? Because all the skills, or is it that, do we look at our body, like say someone who doesn't know if they're doing something that's not right, obviously right, would they feel the stress within their body? Something would happen, then they know it's unwholesome, or the they'll feel the dukkha basically. How would we
Okay.
know?
Yeah. So if I were to ask you, if you want to know whether you have an unwholesome intention,
Mm.
do you want to look at your mind or do you want to look at your body?
It could be both feelings. Like, say, if it's something unwholesome, the mind might react something subconsciously, and that will give maybe a result to the body. The body heart might raise, or sweating might happen, or something. You watch that, you might feel the distress,
Yes, I mean,
something
I
like
agree.
that.
Some teachers do say look for everything in the body. So any mental event, look for it. There'll be a kind of a residual feeling in the body. Um, the Buddha has not mentioned that, but what he said is defilements look in the mind. I think that kind of makes sense. You need to become more and
Mm,
more of the subtle layers in your mind, because there can be very subtle defilements hiding in there. So the more we look at it, the more we get used to cutting through those layers and or clarifying those layers. So I think it helps to look at the mind. I know we don't do it at the start because we are very much
mm,
focused on the breath or the walking meditation or body. But I think as we develop in the practice, we must start looking at the mind as well. I think that's important to do. So I think if we look at the mind, we start noticing how we react. We can catch it early. So the Buddha, once he was teaching his son, Venerable Rahula, and he told him how to get rid of defilements. And he said, initially, you might only know after you have done a bad thing, because you don't have the level of mindfulness to be able to catch it early. But with practice, you might be able to catch yourself while you're doing the wrong thing. And even more, when you practice some more, become more aware of your mind, you might be able to catch it before you do it. So immediately your intention arises, you have caught it. So then you can do something about it and do the wholesome thing. So he said all, practitioners, Dhamma yogis who managed to change themselves this way have always done it through this way. Um, so I think let's not limit ourselves to one of the four foundations of mindfulness. We must make much use of all of them, including the one of the mind. I think we don't use it enough. So yeah, so do it as you go along. You'll find that Dhamma, what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, can be found out. And Dhamma, the investigation into phenomena, has also been described as seeing impermanence. So it's the full gamut of samatha and vipassana happening here. It's not only working on the wholesome factors, it's also working on the wisdom factors as well. And like you mentioned very nicely at the start, sati itself comes with sampajanya, the wisdom factor. So you're being aware of the things arising and passing away around you. And at the same time, you are getting rid of defilements as well as and when they arise. So
So,
that's
Matheesha, would you say then that that sati sampajanya, because the first factor is sati, and are we saying that the sampajanya factor is sort of what we're looking at here in terms of the Dhamma Vicaya?
so Dhamma is not only sampajanya, it's defined as knowing what is wholesome and non-wholesome,
Okay,
plus what is impermanent.
right.
So it captures both those factors,
Hmm.
both those areas. So which is quite interesting because it almost feels like a conjoined some of the vipassana technique here, what the Buddha is talking about. But and the next step, anybody remembers the next step? What is it? Seven factors of enlightenment. What is the third step?
Effort, virya, isn't it?
That's right, virya. You're not letting anybody else give a chance now. Virya. So virya often defined virya or effort or determination, often defined as overcoming the unwholesome and developing the wholesome factors in your mind. So again, you can see how smoothly it transitions from Dhamma because Dhamma is like becoming aware of what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is impermanent. And here you are, virya is where you put in effort to remove what is unwholesome. So often the Buddha will say, he said, when I was a bodhisattva, sort of anger came to my mind, and I removed it, I wiped it out of existence, the prahana sanya. So he completely got rid of it. Not suppressed it. He was able to remove it at the root. So that's different. So suppression means it comes back up later on. But this is a different way of dealing with it, at a much more subtle, much more basic level, closer to the root. He said, if cruelty came to my mind, I got rid of it, prahana sanya will wipe it out of existence. So that kind of narrative varies a lot from some of the modern Western mindfulness teachings, where they will say, "Oh, just be mindful of it; it will arise and pass away. Don't get caught up in it. Don't, act accordingly, but just be mindful." But where the Buddha is much more hands-on with his mind and his mindfulness, and he was actively removing these things. So I think if you do remove it, it works a bit quicker. Otherwise, you'd be stuck with these things arising and passing away for years, because they might go away, but there's no reason for them to not arise again. So I think if you're just mindful of them, they do keep rising again and again, maybe less intensity. But if you want to totally eradicate, where the Buddha is pitching in terms of his Nagami, Arhat, non-returners, and Arhat states, they don't have those defilements. It's not that they're just being mindful of those defilements as they arise. They simply don't have them anymore. So if you are aiming for the enlightenment, then I think you need to sort of think of it in those terms where the Buddha described it. Virya is effort. Virya is also is found in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samavayama, where it's explained in a bit more detail. So the Buddha says, excuse me, if you have an arisen defilement, like craving, anger, how do you get rid of it? Any thoughts? Craving is consuming you. What do you do? Anyone?
And first be aware of it, I guess.
Yes.
And watch it passing. It comes and goes, doesn't it? If you have the
Dhamma
patience
Vichaya.
to watch it, if you just have the patience to watch it coming and going, you
Okay.
realize
Yeah.
that's also impermanent.
Yeah.
And
Good.
don't add to it, because we tend to proliferate. Otherwise, we shouldn't have liked that. Oh, that's so wrong.
Mhm.
Without going down that path, it would be
That's right.
easier
Yeah.
to say.
You shouldn't blame yourself. You have to have metta
Yeah,
towards yourself.
just be aware that greed has a reason. It's only a thought. It'll pass. That's it.
Anybody uses any other techniques?
Maybe see the danger, adinava of it, or
Absolutely. That's
see the
right.
impermanence.
That's right. Can you give an
It's more
example?
difficult. Well, if I go shopping, if
Yeah.
I sort of see
Absolutely.
or something, it's a sales on, and I normally just go, oh yeah, it's cheap. Oh, I must buy this. Not one, but 2 or 3 because it's cheap. The sales on, and I could sort of, if I'm aware, I could say, okay, I've got loads. At home, I haven't worn, and I'm wasting money. Blah blah blah.
That's right.
And stop something maybe.
Very good. Anything else?
No, just to sort of say, as much as we have this Bojjanga in terms of the sequence, it looks like actually everything is kind of happening at the same time, because Mihiri mentioned that you need to be aware. So that's sati, and to know that the adinava and the that something is not permanent. That's the sort of Dhamma Vichaya. So in trying to do this whole putting the effort to to move away from the unwholesome and towards the wholesome, you have to kind of go back to some of the fundamentals. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can see all these lists the Buddha has mentioned, stepwise lists. They're all like a tangled ball. They work on each other. They supplement each other. They reinforce each other. And it's just for our learning that the Buddha has unwound the ball and said, "Look, it's like this as well." So yeah, don't think that you've done it once and it's finished. So no, you'll be using these things again and again, and they reinforce each other. Um, Imagine if, like, yeah. So also they need to sort of be at a certain length, at a certain strength as well. So bit of sati here and there might not be enough, but it has to be certain strength to for it to flow downhill. Um, okay. Has anybody heard? Sorry, anybody? Any other methods of overcoming craving and aversion?
Matheesha, a sutra comes to my mind, that Vitakka Santana Sutta, where Yoniso Manasikara is
Yeah.
applied. And in several ways you can get rid of these defilements.
Okay. So not you, Shiruma. Anybody else knows what the Vitakka Santana Sutra is? I'm sure you know, Shiruma, but that's fine. Yanta? Okay, I'm going to give you some homework. I'm going to post the Vitakka Santana Sutra, and you have to memorize this one. 5 techniques. It will help your life immensely.
I remember one because I think we've in some of the din gatherings I think we talked about this, and I remember the final one, which is like grit your teeth and still push it away, that kind of force. I remember that 5th one very well.
Actually, I remember this is one of the favorite sutras Matheesha used to do quite often when we started the classes.
Yeah, absolutely. Shiruma remembers. It was one of my favorites. And I just found this sutra out of the blue, and I was like, oh my God, he mentioned this all this time. Why isn't anybody teaching us these things? So I made it my thing to sort of teach it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like
But
things like burying unwholesome thoughts with wholesome thought, isn't it? And then like
that's
recalling
right,
the
yes.
dangers. You recall the dangers, like the
Recalling the dangers.
Adinaba, like Samantha said. And
Yeah.
then you stop this
Next.
proliferation, constant perpetuation of whatever thing has arisen in the mind, whether it's aversion or desire. And then you, of course, look and think of the causes and effects. What is going to happen because I'm so angry and I'm going to whack somebody or say something horrible. And then the last one is Gihanta's one.
There's one more. The first one, I think, is take a bigger peg to get rid of a smaller peg. Something like that, or a smaller peg to get rid of a bigger peg.
Yeah, that little nail, isn't it?
Yeah, nails. So
yeah.
it's like
It's basically to bury
metta.
unwholesome thought with wholesome thought. So that is
Yeah.
the little things
Using
that
metta to get
that's right.
rid of
Anger
anger.
and all
Like
that.
the opposite.
And I think also there is one about distraction. So you use a couple of techniques, but there's still thoughts popping up in your mind. Just think of something else, like
Yeah,
focus
that's
on don't stop thinking about this one.
Yeah.
And the next one is where the running man calms down to walking, calms down to standing, goes down sitting, goes down to lying down. Again, if the force of your defilement is so strong, do it gradually. Don't suddenly put a brake on it, and gradually calm things down. And of course, the famous one, the crunching of the teeth. So
avoidance, Matheesha, that if you go down a certain path and you're getting attracted to certain kind of, avoid that path and take another avenue, something.
yeah,
I think there's one avoidance.
I think
Something.
yeah, maybe I think there's probably a third one you're talking about. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, there may be other techniques other than these 5. I mean, some of us will naturally come across techniques that are helpful for us as you go, and you'll develop your own ones. So that's fine. I think you should develop your own ones. And often, sometimes in sort of therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, we ask the person who's receiving therapy, how do you manage it now by yourself? So they will come up with their own techniques, and those techniques are sometimes stronger than what you might be able to prescribe. So I think it's really helpful to have those techniques. Also, look up anger. Buddha has mentioned like 5 things, 2 ways of overcoming anger in several sutras. Similarly, for cravings, there are other sutras as well. So it's helpful to read these things and kind of gets you into the mood of doing these things, and to hear them from Nikala and Amithas. It's helpful. Okay, so assuming we've managed to say the first few bits of the mindfulness of breath, dana, panasati, you're really overcoming the five hindrances: craving, aversion, restlessness, regret, thought, torpor, and doubt. And they say when you overcome the 5 hindrances, what arises? Does anybody know?
Is that vitakka, vichara, priti, sukha, ekaggata?
Yeah, close. I think that's right. So the Buddha says particularly priti arises when you overcome the defilements. And you can see in the enlightenment factors, it's sati, dhamma, vichaya, virya, and priti. So virya and priti is linked there because the virya overcomes the defilements and the 5 hindrances to a degree, not completely, to a degree, and there is priti as a result. So this is where you're breathing in mindful of rapture, breathing out mindful of rapture comes in. And when you're breathing, you overcome the gross stuff in your head, in your mind, and it's entered niramasa sukha, suvaya sukha. So priti comes into your mind. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Please ask questions.
Yes.
Okay, great. So you're becoming very relaxed, very calm, very peaceful, and a certain bliss, a certain pleasure comes into your mind. A subtle one. It's not like a gross thing, like you're eating a cupcake or something. But this is a very gross, sort of very subtle sense of pleasure that comes to your mind, and you feel good. Your whole body start to feel good. Has anybody ever experienced that in your breath meditation?
I think a lot of us have, yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Okay, never mind. I'm going to ask. So yeah, priti is one and sukha is the other one. So in Anapanasati Sutta, priti is followed by sukha, but in the enlightenment factors, priti is followed by passaddhi. Prasadhi is tranquility and silence and solitude. So I had a lovely simile here. The simile is that when you drop a rock into a water pool, a puddle, there are ripples. So the ripples are like priti. It's a bit ecstatic. It's a bit agitated, if you like. And so when the ripples calm down, slowly, gradually fading away into tranquility, passaddhi. So that's the idea of passaddhi. It becomes more subtle, but priti is also impermanent and it fades away. And it becomes tranquility or passaddhi. So a very calm, neutral state of mind that you get in your meditation. I'm sure many of you would have reached that state. It's not that difficult to come across that, especially on a good day when you're not sleepy or tired. Or maybe when you're on retreat, for example, or maybe some of you are achieving that in your day-to-day 1 hour of practice or whatever, very frequently. So,
Matheesha, may I ask, how is passaddhi different from, say, contentment? So you know how sometimes you can have joy and a lot of happiness, not because of even in the mundane world, you might have that because of pleasure say you're enjoying some food that you really like, or you're at a beach and it's very calm, and or maybe you're in nature, and so there's happiness. But tranquility, but pleasure, as you said, could be quite gross, whilst contentment has a sense of calmness to it.
I think contentment is pretty sort of mundane in the
Right.
sense that you have everything with you. It's your day off. The pet is not bothering you. The kids are out. You know what I mean. You're sort of enjoying your time and just relaxing, and it's a good time. There's nothing rushing you. You don't have to do anything in particular. So you can be content, and you might think about your life and happy with what you have reached. So there's a little sense of contentment in that. However, that's amisa, but this is niramisa. This is not mundane. I don't know if you can call it super mundane. I don't think you can, but it's getting there on the way to that. So it's more refined state that you arrive from. So nothing to do with the sense pleasures. It's the absence of sense pleasures that is giving rise to this kind of pleasure.
Okay.
So yeah.
So while sort of in the mundane world, your happiness or your contentment is based on certain sensorial either stimuli or lack of them. This is it's nothing to do with the senses. Okay, it's something more deep within.
That's right. It's something internal, isn't it? So, and deep within. So okay. Right. So that's tranquility. Let's everybody now have a clear understanding of what tranquility is. Would you say?
Sorry, I'm not trying to dominate, but how do you feel tranquility? Because I know what contentment feels. Is tranquility purely to do with a meditative state?
Good question. I think as far as I'm aware, in this context, yes, because the kind of happiness that arises from overcoming defilements, for example, is something you would get in meditation, not outside. So I think this is going deeper and deeper into the meditation as we're going, and the next step is samadhi. So definitely we are thinking of a meditative process here. This is not to say that if you come out of this state, some of the contentment or tranquility persists for a little while outside as well. And certainly I remember when I used to do meditation in the mornings, the sense of peace that came to with it just lasted like many hours in the day. So it just carry over. So it's not that this is only a meditation thing, but it does have effects in your day-to-day life as well. So I think contentment, the peacefulness is good, and I think you must come to appreciate it as well. So it can motivate you more and more to do the meditation and find those states of tranquility desirable. So you're training your mind to go away from the crazy madness of sense desires, and training it to value, to taste tranquility, something, a pleasure beyond the senses, which is valuable in itself. So yeah, I think we're trying it out. Shall we give it a try? I think it's now 8:45. Sorry, 6:45.
Just a quick question,
Yeah.
Matheesha. So would tranquility, what was it, the sukha or preeti sukha, those when you get the preeti
Passaddhi sukha.
passaddhi. So
Passaddhi is tranquility. Yeah.
Tranquility. Passaddhi is tranquility. So sukha, preeti and sukha doesn't equate passaddhi, does it?
It doesn't equate, but that comes afterwards. So tranquility, like they have broken it down a bit more in the 7 factors of enlightenment. It's not just preeti and sukha. So it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, in reality, these things are a little bit mixed. Get a very pure experience of one after the other. So, I mean, you have to be mindful in all these states anyway, otherwise it won't progress. And you're putting in effort with your breathing anyway. So I think the states are mixed, but one may predominate more than the others at a certain time. So you feel breathing more at some times and tranquility more at sometimes, samadhi more at sometimes.
So it's just really a state of calmness, basically, isn't it? I
State of
suppose
calmness,
at the end of the day.
especially. Right.
Lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Shall we do some meditation then? So I'm thinking maybe 20 minutes to half an hour. So the quickest and easiest way to get into tranquility is through mindfulness of breath, I think, anapanasati. So your minds must be quite busy now because we've been talking and you've been thinking. So maybe a quick 5-minute metta, and we'll sink into anapanasati after that. Okay. So sit in a comfortable posture, ideally with your back erect, hands on top of each other, feet flat on the ground. Comfortable as you can, eyes closed. Becoming aware of the sounds around us, in your own environment. Letting go of the past, any thoughts you had in the Dhamma discussion, letting them go. Letting go of the future and anything you have to do today or tomorrow. It's being contented in the present. Becoming aware of the body sitting here. Becoming aware of the body breathing. And contemplate these words after me. Doing your best to be genuine with these wishes. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be joyful. May I be free from anger. May I be free from fear. May I be free from craving. May I be free from suffering. May I find happiness and peace. May all those near me, may they be well. Near me in all directions, may they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be joyful. May they be free from anger. May they be free from fear. May they be free from anxiety. May they be free from stress. May they find happiness and peace. May all beings in the middle distance away from me, in all directions, may they all be well. May they all be happy. May they all be peaceful. May they all be joyful. May they be free from anger. May they be free from jealousy. Maybe they're free from conceit. May they find happiness and peace. May all beings in all directions, far, far away from me, may they all be well and happy. May they be peaceful. May they be joyful. May they be free from anger. May they be free from fear. May they be free from craving. May they be free from suffering. May they find happiness and peace. May they find happiness and peace. May they find happiness and peace. Bring your awareness back to the upper chest. Use your mindfulness to feel breath coming in and going out. Establish your one point at the nostrils. Breathing in, breathing out. Firmly establish your mindfulness there. Watching the flow of breath, the airflow, past where it hits and where you feel it best. If any thoughts take you away, gently come back to the breath. Not doing anything wrong. The way it should be. Back to breathing in and breathing out. As you relax, breathing slows down. And your in-breath becomes long and stretched out. Your out-breath becomes long and stretched out. Get excited if it does. Just watch it dispassionately. the natural course of things for your body to relax.
Things have all working. When they like present things.
Okay, now let's start becoming aware of the beginning of the in-breath, the ending of the in-breath, as in terms of impermanence. Also the beginning of the out-breath and the ending of the out-breath. Just note them. Note that those beginnings and endings are impermanent. Just focus on the sign of impermanence, the aikatanya, rather than the actual breath. Okay, this is now Vipassana. Okay. becoming aware of the sounds in the environment again. We direct our awareness outwards, away from the breath. Just note sounds arising and passing away. That too is impermanent. This is everything in the world. Letting go. Become content with it. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring the meditation to an end. You turn on your cameras if you're ready. My surroundings are a little bit noisy, sorry about that. Anything interesting you noticed about your meditation today? Did you notice any of the 7 factors of enlightenment in your meditation?
I would just say a deep calmness for myself, but I think it's good for others to speak up. Thank you.
So James mentioned that you said your mind is clearer now, isn't it? So how is it different from before? What did the mind have before that made it muddy?
I suppose just more thoughts and things floating around, things that I know I've got to do, deadlines, managing my work, that kind of thing.
So those behind each of those thoughts is a little subtle, I need to get this done now. I need to do this by tomorrow. I haven't done this. Maybe self-blame, self-criticism, cravings, attachments. So these are all kind of 5 hindrances popping up in your mind and sort of muddying your mind. When they fall away, the mind becomes much more clearer. And there is a certain joy in that, certain pleasure in that, if you like, which is very subtle. The hindrances fading away leaves you with a sense of clarity, peace, joyfulness, lightness, and the mind becomes quite clear. So I think that's what we are talking about. So in terms of your mindfulness intentionally or not, you were able to overcome some of the five hindrances, the unwholesome things, and then leading to, that was your effort, leading to a clear state of mind, which is Passaddhi. Maybe you didn't feel so much the bliss, the joy, really, but nevertheless, that's where you sort of end up. And that state is often mentioned as the perfect stage to start insight meditation, vipassana, where the mind is clear from hindrances. Thank you. Anybody else?
I would just say that generally, when we're not doing the meditation, there's always something to do, something not complete. Something is not right, or something has to be done to make it right. So you're on a constant sort of preoccupation about trying to sort something out, whether it's yourself or your work or family and all of that. So it's almost like never ending, because there's always something to sort out. And I think with the meditative piece, there's nothing to push you or pull you. You can just be.
That's right. I think the cravings that push us and pull us are no longer active in that state. I think it's good to be able to acknowledge that you can put things off for an hour. You don't have to keep worrying about it. Worrying about it doesn't necessarily help. I think having a break in your day can help you to sort of not be on the rat race so much, and just have time for yourself to relax as well. Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Matheesha. Yeah, I mean, I certainly find this meditation, the breath meditation, very calm, relaxing, especially, when you have a busy day and everything, and it's really nice to focus on the breath and feel relaxed, and it changes your mindset, from all sorts of things. But I mean, it wasn't long enough for me to actually go through the whole thing. But I'm just wondering the impermanent nature. So I'm sort of like focusing on the breath, in being with the breath and then coming down. But I haven't actually really understood the impermanence yet of the magic. It keeps changing. Would I see the impermanence aspect later on, the practice as it becomes advanced? I mean, you could see the in and out breath.
Yes.
But I haven't seen impermanent.
So, yeah. So there is a way of watching impermanence with the breath as well, which is what I just mentioned. But I find practically it's quite tough to do it that way as a Vipassana technique. So what I have done usually is to watch the 5 or the 6 sense bases. So sounds arising and passing away, sights arising and passing away, tactile sensations arising and passing away, thoughts, feelings, and so on. So if you see that, you get a much more distinct, clear sense of impermanence. And it's not this sort of one-off thing that we do in meditation like we did today, but you have to be basically ideally in a retreat setting. And it's this Burmese technique, Matheesha, who does that best, I think. So you'll be watching impermanence the whole day, if not days and weeks, if not even months. So it's when you do that level of impermanence that your vipassana starts developing step by step. So you start developing insight knowledges, so vipassana jnana, and which leads to Maggapala, or like Sukapati, stream entry. So but for that you need to have developed a mind which is clear of hindrances, which is peaceful, tranquil, and very good state of samadhi, if not the first jhana. So if you had the first jhana, things are quite quicker in terms of developing the vipassana knowledges, because otherwise it can take quite a few long months. So I would say don't worry about the impermanence too much right now. Just focus on developing a good, steady, solid samadhi. If not, if you can go into the first jhana, it's ideal. And stay mindful as much as possible during the day, because that helps the sitting practice as well. The more mindful you are during the day, the sitting practice does better. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Any questions?
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. That's really good
Okay.
advice. Thanks.
Can I just, can you hear me first of all? Can you?
Yes, dear, go on.
Okay, so first I have to apologize because I thought I could make it, but what I realized that nothing that you planned really can. I think that was the biggest realization, because I planned it so beautifully, but the train I was on suddenly got stuck 3 stations before, and nobody knew there was some signal failures, and I gave a frantic call 5 minutes before, and I thought I could say it, but then I had to go back to Victoria and take another train. But what I could do, and I think that's what I realized, and then, so I practically heard the whole of the session, but I was walking between the tube stations and trains, but I had my phone near my ear. So I realized that with effort, you can do things. It's not perfect, but then you have to let go of doing what you thought you could do seated comfortably. And once you let go, it has become a struggle. You just take it as it comes. And kids were screaming, and people were shouting, but they were just sounds. And I was really pleased at that. And I could listen to practically about 95% of the discussion. The meditation at the end, I had got home, and so I couldn't really come upstairs and sit on my computer, and it was very hot because it's a very hot day. I was out in the sun, but I had the fan on, and very soon, my body felt cool, and then I could observe and relax into it. So I think what I realized was that even when conditions aren't powerful, and even though you want to do things, that when you let go, the ability to go on these 7 stages, I found today with extreme challenges that I could relax, I could listen. My mind didn't go to other things with all the noises. Of course, they came, and I'm not saying they didn't have to get in and out of buses, move on the seats, but I could listen and understand and learn from what the others said. And that gave me a sense of right effort, and also the fact that, I didn't keep on clinging to things, and I could let go of things, and I saw the aversion and the irritation coming up, and it going down. I saw me clinging to, it isn't how it should be, not how I planned, and why did the signals fail, and why couldn't anybody tell me how long it would take? But I learned to let go of those things, and I learned to be. And there was this sense of peace. And I was listening to know what is calm and what's the difference that everybody was discussing. And for myself, what I realized is the mind wasn't agitated. It was calm and it was accepting. And that brought a sense of peace, with its calm, with its satisfaction. I didn't go to sleep, but I felt a distinct difference between that and the agitated mind that I had before. And that gave me a sense of relaxation, which I could, and a sense of a kind of a enjoyment and being focused without the ups and downs of trying to do things. So I really wanted to thank you, particularly Matheesha as well, for the effort you took, and how well you, all these different things, the hindrances, and how you took the 3 roots, and how you looked at the 7 factors, and how you looked at the different efforts, and how you combine. It's very useful, because even if you have done it over and over again, what I realized is that these things arise and these things pass, and you think, oh yes, I have understood it, but no, again it arises, and this need that it's done and finished is gone, because every day it's a different thing, and it's a different aspect of the path you got to concentrate. But once you realize that, and once you accept it, and don't try to find this perfection and what you thought it was going to be. I find that in the difficulties is the ability to move a little more forward, a little bit more understanding that it isn't perfect, like learning something we do in mid school. We learned all the factors and everything, now it's done and finished. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity, and that despite of all the places I ran to today, after I was from 5:30 onwards when I contacted, but I did come in and managed to listen, and I just want to thank you. It was very useful for me, a very good learning situation and a sense of achievement. So I just wanted to thank you, share that with all of you. And also to ask you one thing. This is something Ajahn Amro always talks about, and Lumpa Sumedo. And because my mind is now forgetting something. These three things, I think it is about Asadhya, Adinava, and Nisarana. Am I right? Is that the order of the three? And something was sense gratification and the dangers, and the Nisarana is when you let it all go. But can you clarify whether I'm mixing up words, Matheesha, and just explain those things to me?
The first one is asad or
Yeah.
aswad
Yeah.
in Sinhalese.
Yes.
That means the pleasure, the enjoyment of the sense pleasure.
So I remember that. I thought it was asadhya, but you're telling me it's asada. Am I right?
Aswad, asad, asad.
Yeah, that's right. Asada is the way I remember it. And I remember it as sensual gratification.
That's right, yes, correct.
Yeah. And then that's Adina, what they speak of. That's about the dangers. Am I right there?
That's correct. So the drawbacks,
Yeah.
it could be like more just if you eat too many sweet things, you get fat, or it could be everything is impermanent. It's also a drawback.
Right. And then the third thing was Nissarana. Am I right there?
Nissarana, yes.
And that means when you let this all go, is it?
When you let go, yeah, that is the escape from all of this.
Right. Okay, thank you. Because you were referring to, and some others, I think Mihiri was also referring to Adinava. But I remember these three and the order they came in, because this was several years ago. I just wanted to clarify. I thought this is a good opportunity to clarify, because I think, and also those factors when you have to, the things about the sati, the way you explain to it what exactly it is about, the awareness, about the mindfulness, how do you do it, like the present moment, the breath, and you collected and said all the feelings, or the contact and what is happening in the moment, and also the non-judgment part of it, and not being in the past or in the future. And I thought that was a very useful way of how you brought all those factors in, and also how you can do, how can the present moment, which is by the breath. And the last thing that was said about gritting of the teeth, that I remember, and I think that was really referred to about when you were falling asleep, or when you have pain or something, and the final thing was gritting the teeth. I also remember that very clearly. And also the in-between thing, sometimes bringing something very different, letting that go and bring a different thoughts. But it's very useful the way you bring everything. And I just want to say a very big thank you to spending this time with all of us. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Dale. Amazing to hear your recollection. I don't think even I can remember my talk that much. So well done. Samantha, did you want to say something?
I know you have to go, but just very quickly, from earlier on what you were explaining, just the question that arose is that, so basically to see impermanence. So what you're saying is to practice, it's best to practice the samadhi first, and then get the mind calm and free as possible from the hindrances, then switch on to open awareness, like of the five senses, like and then see the rising, falling of the sound, and I suppose because your eyes shut, and then try and practice that way to see impermanent over and over again. That might be a bit better, I think.
I think so. I can do the personal meditation if you're available on Tuesday evening at 7:30. Sorry, 7. Every first week I'm there at the temple. So we can do
is it
the
on
personal meditation.
is it on Teams or
Sorry,
online?
no, it's at the temple, physically on the temple.
Physically. Oh, I can't do physically.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can't leave my mom in the evening. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe we can do it some other time. Maybe we can arrange a call.
Another session. Yeah. Okay.
So Yeah. So yeah, first focus on this the 5 hindrances and getting a samadhi right, and then we can gradually insert vipassana into it. It's not a problem. It's fine. Yeah. If anybody else is interested, just let me know.
Sorry, Matheesha, I'll just to ask you one other thing. If I recollect correctly, all my doings during this meditation, and you were mentioning when somebody asked a question about Anapanasati, that actually for you, the impermanence was easier looking at the other sense bases and looking at, thoughts and feelings and things coming in and going was easier. So am I extrapolating from that? Am I thinking right now you're thinking of vipassana samadhi to see the arising and passing, the anicca part, right?
Yes.
Because when I do, I've still always started getting a little bit focused with the samadhi, and I always start with the breath because that's just natural. I've been doing that with Ajahn Sumedana for years and years.
Yeah.
And I always feel it at the tip of my nose, and then I watch the breath sort of coming and going, and that's what I focused and seeing the rising. And then I find that when I focus that, like even when anger comes in, or when there are disturbing thoughts or negative thoughts or fear, anxiety, any of those negative chittas and chajasikas come in, I just focus myself on the breath, because the breath is always in the present moment. So that kind of grounds, and it's always with you wherever you are. You don't have to do anything. And if I'm seated down, then it's easier because I ground myself, because I feel, my bottom on the chair, or at least my feet if I'm standing on. So I ground myself also, and I then feel I'm connected to the earth and I'm grounded, and that also helps to still me. And then when I see the breath coming in, and sometimes I feel the warmth and the cold depending on whether it's in and out breath, but more the sensation of it. And I don't follow the breath anyway. I just keep it there. And then all of a sudden, when my thoughts gets less, and the agitation gets less, and whatever has been disturbing thoughts gets less. And then suddenly I sort of drift into the space of, nothing actually being there, and just going into awareness. And so I find that, I don't change. When the sounds come, like today, I was in a bus getting in and out, tubes, trains, all this I was doing. I even came in a bus, so all this within that last half an hour or so, and the whole of the breath. But I could do that, but I find that just the breath, and for me, that really calms me and centers me. And so I like to do that, but I also know that you have to go to the other point, that you have to, that you start on vipassana, and that you move to Suddha vipassana, and that you let it go. But particularly when I'm agitated and things like that, I use it for calming. And is it unnatural? Because when you said it's a bit more difficult, so but I find that there are times, of course, when I'm looking at it, when the mind is so disturbed that I can't, then I looked at the thoughts coming and going, and that's easier to do. But if I find that something very calming, centering, and opening into silence and space, which is sort of quite profound, that I sort of feel like boundless and things, and these exquisite feelings in my body of bliss, which I just bask in, and then they become from that pleasure, the piti, and then they go into like more the happiness and the calmness, the passaddhi. And I use that quite a bit, even when I get up in the night, and I think, my gosh, there's so much to do, and things are changing, and the uncertainty. I use that. Is that an okay way of doing things? If I find that easy for me, or should I always be looking only at the anicca and quickly going on and progressing to look at the rising and the path, and going on to the jhanas from there?
Okay. So the Buddha said there are 4 paths to becoming a rahat. One is samatha based on vipassana, vipassana based on samatha, samatha and vipassana together at the same time, and one where you are in line with the insights. It's not clear what that is. But the main 3 are always based on these 2 factors, samatha and vipassana. So So what you mentioned, where your mind becomes clear, free from the hindrances, you're experiencing Niramisa Suya, Sukha, Priti, Passaddhi, all that falls under Samatha.
Yeah.
So Samatha existed before the Buddha's time.
Mm.
However, you can't get to Maggapala or Arhathood without the Vipassana.
Yeah.
Yes, it does lead to a lot of pleasure, happiness, calmness, contentment, which is good in itself.
Mm.
It motivates you to practice. But know that you will be born in sort of Brahmic realms. And you will fall away from there, but not necessarily come to an Arhathood. So don't be stuck in that. You've done that well so far. That's fine. Now it's time to let that go as well and move on to the next step, which is your Vipassana practice.
Actually, I do that as well, particularly when I'm like in a room and when I'm focused and there's a class, because I particularly find that the recent lecture that we are getting on Abhidhamma, right? Because we have done it once with Bhante Pannavata, but now it's particularly looking at the chittas and the chetasikas and looking at the occasional ones and look at the ones which are sabbasadhana and seeing those, with that all of us are having certain things with the occasion and looking at metta, seeing them arising and path. I do a lot of that as well. I find that also extremely useful and using the Abhidhamma as well. But I noticed that at different times for different things, I use the different things. So I find that also extremely useful, knowing that first bit of the first and the second lessons where we have these different things and the number of the which are the akusala sitavili and the number of the beautiful factors, and encouraging and seeing when there is when there is a version of it, I mean, like the hindrances, but beyond that also, but looking at when there's restless mind and when the doubt mind and the thoughts arising and going. So I really find that going deep into the slight details of the Abhidhamma, but as well as the arising and the passing and seeing the Nama and the Rupa separately, and beyond that, and seeing the rising and the passing. And so I do that as well. But I find that for different times, I use different techniques for different things, and I find that particularly when they are discussing English, I mean, I really enjoy both very much. So it's not that I do that and I just wait on that because of the happiness. I realize how important it is really to get to go on the path and to the Maggapala, and particularly for you to Satya Pukala and that a person and me and mine, and that other than just listening to the suttas like the fire sermon or the Anantalakkhana Sutta, which tells for me not then, therefore it's not me, but actually going into your thoughts and seeing that and how they affect, and the factors which are the unwholesome factors and the separate beautiful factors. So I mean, I think everything that Buddha thought is, I mean, I'm always in gratitude at how fortunate we are that even like today, when for the most difficult thing for me even to sit and listen, or even to that the technology is there that I could do it, and that also, even though I mean I'm a senior, as you know, I'm so many years senior doing med school, but that we still have the interest and the motivation to be able to learn something and to relate to our lives, because life is very difficult as time goes on when you're older. And I mean, I think overriding all this gratitude, that what I feel to the Buddha and to each of us and to technology, without which I wouldn't have done any of these things.
Thank you. Gyantha?
No, just to say, no, thank you, Dil, for everything. Matheesha, I'm conscious of time. I think it's 7:40. I mean, you need to go now, Matheesha? Oh, yes.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so I think I really don't need to say much more. I think Dil did an excellent job in explaining, clarifying, summarizing your talk today. But I will just say that I think what was refreshing was a couple of things. One was really tying things together. I really like rather than just sort of getting into the talk for today, which is Passaddhi. I think, starting from Sati, Dhamma Vicaya, Virya, to Piti, to PASSADDHI, that whole sequence, I think was very good. But also, as Samantha has also mentioned, I think this discussion has clarified that we also need to sometimes revisit some of the fundamentals. Some of them is Vipassana. So we will certainly look at that going forward. So may I take this opportunity again to thank Matheesha in spite of all the business and family commitments to come and spend time with us today to talk about PASSADDHI and also the insightful meditation, in-session meditation we did. So thanks again, and certainly we look forward to you being part of the collective learning process going forward. And huge thanks also to everybody else who joined today. Yes, absolutely. Thanks to the technology as well that has helped us to come together. And I look forward to seeing you again in a month's time, or maybe less than a month's time, because we're sort of in mid-August now, but sometime in early September for us to continue our collective learning around the Bojjanga, but also the fundamentals of meditation, so that we can get to the peace we are looking for. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a pleasant evening, and see you all soon. Take care.
Thank you. I just want to mention, if you want me to do a session on Vipassana next time, I'm happy to do it, but it depends on your program schedule. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matheesha. Thank you for